What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Go Talk with Marcus, powered by Poddex, fueled by Goat Fuel. Episode 21 of 32 as we break down all 32 teams and their NFL off seasons here on the show. Joining me for the very first time is Kendall Whitley of the East West Podcast. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, pretty good, man. Pretty good, man. First, I want to appreciate you for having me tonight with you. You got a pretty good thing going in, going what you're doing now. And I mean, when I have a chance, I do tune into it. Go talk with Marcus.
I do greatly appreciate it, man. Nice to have a Patriots fan on the show. I don't think I've ever had a fan of the Patriots on the show, and given that he is a fan of the Patriots, of course, that means we are talking about the New England Patriots today, the team that finished second in the AFC East last season, made it to the playoffs, lost, and what I would say was heartbreaking fashion in a way, a little bit, to the AFC rival Buffalo Bills in the what was that, the wild card round last year. So let's start right off the gate by talking about Mac Jones, who I thought was an absolute bright spot in that game. In that playoff game last season, he was the only of the five rookie quarterbacks. Well, six if you include Davis Mills. But he's the only of the rookie quarterbacks last season. We're talking about Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Davis Mills, and Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, to not only just make it to the playoffs, but have a winning season, throw more touchdowns and interceptions, be a Pro Bowler, and of course make the playoffs. So he had a really, really, really good season. And a lot of people were kind of downing on him in the beginning, heading into the draft. Like, why would San Francisco draft Mac Jones third overall? Obviously, he falls all the way down to the Patriots at 10. Good pickup. I mean, perfect system for him to kind of thrive and kind of do his thing. At this point, though, do you think he's in a position where he's likely to take that sophomore jump, or do you think he might fall into a bit of a slump here now in his second season in the league?
I think the sky's the limit for Mac. I think we're going to see that, what we call it, that year two leap. We're going to see that big year two leap from him this year. We got him some peace. We got him some speed in the draft. We drafted Pierre Strong out of South Dakota State. We got Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor. We got Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne on return, and Nelson Aguilar will be there. We did trade N'Keal Harry, which I'm glad we did that because it just didn't work out for us. It didn't work out for us. And then we bring in DeVante Parker, who I think is going to be a big boost to the offense. I think he's the number one receiver, just didn't really have the opportunity in Miami with the crazy quarterback situation that they always had there. And then if he can stay healthy for us, he's going to open up so much for us this year. He's going to open up so much. And then Hunter Henry, he had a pretty good year last year, 10 touchdowns, had a bunch of had some good games for us. And we have to get Jonnu Smith going this year. And I think if all that works out, I know it's a lot, but I think if at least half of those players can come to form this year, I think Mac Jones, he's going to, like I said, the sky's the limit for him.
I mean, you talk about Mac Jones last season, completed close to 68% of his passes almost last season, which is absurd to think of for a rookie, right? Completing 67.6% of his passes, had a touch under 4,000 yards. He had 3,800, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, had a 50.9 QBR, which was 16th in the league, and a 92.5 pass rate. Like, he was a top 15 quarterback statistically last season. I mean, he 13 in passing yards, tied 14th for touchdowns, and like I said, 16th for QBR. He played really, really, really good football. Really good football.
Some of the picks that he had when you go back, because I did that in the season, a lot of I think he had 10 picks. I think he had 10 picks.
13,
yeah. 13 picks or whatnot. I'll say 6 or 7 of those weren't even his fault. It was a couple tip passes, a couple ball and stuff like that. So I went back and I chalked them up. I put 5 or 6 on them, but I think about half of them weren't even his fault. So then he had a bunch of balls that were dropped last year for touchdowns. So I mean,
and other thing too with Mac is you talk about especially how like his career starts, right? He's supposed to be going high. He falls down a little bit, but still a first round talent, right? Still gets drafted by the New England Patriots. We see the clip of him very ecstatic. He tried to whisper and kind of conceal it to Roger Goodell, but he didn't do a good job. He said he wanted to be in New England. He gets to New England. Cam Newton's already the quarterback, but then that thing was all kind of weird. Cam Newton obviously ends up getting released, and now here comes Mac Jones. And I'll be honest with you, like I said, I wasn't high on Mac Jones because here's the thing: you talk about Alabama quarterbacks. Alabama is such a good college football program that there's not much room we don't see that much improvement of Alabama quarterbacks when it comes to when they make it to the next level in the NFL, right? Because they're so Nick Saban having formerly coached in the NFL and that being such a rigorous program, it's like those quarterbacks especially are like, they're NFL ready, and that's whatever we see when they leave Alabama is usually what we're going to get, right? When you talk about a Jalen Hurts, you talk about a Tua Tagovailoa, like obviously there are things that they can tweak as far as being a better decision maker, right? But Jalen Hurts and Tua, for as long as they play football now, from the now until the time they retire, they're going to be pretty much what we've already seen. Same thing for Mac Jones. Mac Jones isn't going to just come into this season all of a sudden scrambling the ball. Just not going to happen. He's not going to
No.
come into this season now all of a sudden just chucking 50-yard bomb. That's not going to be the case either. Like, Mac Jones is fully molded, and there's nothing wrong with that. I thought that would be a little bit limiting if we're talking about him going to San Francisco, but he ends up in New England, and it works perfectly because they've never had a guy that can scramble the ball. Tom Brady, he can make those big throws when he needs to, but Tom Brady was never like that strong arm guy. He was the mental surgical. I'm gonna beat the defense step by step. And we saw a lot of that out of Mac Jones last season. He played spectacular football. I mean, given the circumstances and given, I think, all of the pressure of being really the first franchise quarterback to follow in Tom Brady's footsteps is big. And he started off well in his first season, 22-13. So, and led him had double-digit wins, led him to the playoffs, and was really the only good player on the field aside from Kendrick Bourne, obviously offensively,
right, in
that playoff game. And let's be honest, we're talking about a team where it was a really great defense, but the defense, I think, really let the Patriots down in that playoff game because Buffalo doesn't punt the ball at all. You get a couple stops here and there. We're talking about the Patriots potentially making it to the division round of the playoffs last season because they just caught fire at just the right time. And again, a lot of that had to do with Mac Jones and what he was able to do. I agree with you. I think he's primed for a sophomore jump. I saw someone I saw a talking head on one of these sports shows earlier say that I think it was Mike Tannenbaum actually say that he's got him as the dark horse to be MVP. I don't know if I'd go that far. There's just a lot of if he's going to be a lot would have to go right for that to happen.
If he's going to do that, DeVante Parker would have 1,000 yards. Jonnu Smith would have double-digit touchdowns.
Yeah,
Hunter Henry would repeat what he did last year.
And they'd also have to win the division too, because you're not going to be second to the Buffalo Bills and be in the MVP conversation. It could happen. I don't think it would happen though, but a lot of things would have to go right if we were to potentially be talking about as the season's winding down, Mac Jones and the MVP conversation. You mentioned DeVante Parker, and if there's one move that I absolutely loved, it was this one, because I think what was glaringly obvious in the playoff game last season against Buffalo was, you had the connection between Jones and Bourne, but as much as I think that Kendrick Bourne's a talented player, he's really not equipped at this point in his career to be a wide receiver one. And you go out and you get a guy in DeVante Parker. He's a vet. He's cheap. You're not paying him too much money. He can be a wide receiver one, right? I think his time in Miami, especially on the back end, was kind of shaky because he was in and out of the lineup due to injury. But then also, they had brought in Jalen Waddle, and he clearly ascended, and Mike Gesicki has been fantastic for them. So you bring in DeVante Parker, you have that veteran presence, a true wide receiver one, and now Kendrick Bourne can be a wide receiver two, which I think would boost his production as well as far as what he can do. Do you like the move of DeVante Parker joining the team? How are you feeling about what that means for Mac, what that means for the offense, and all that?
I didn't like the move. I love the move. It was a great move for us. It was a great move for us. And he's 29, I think. He's 29.
Yeah.
So, it was a great, but he just can't stay healthy. And I think if he'd been able to stay healthy, we're talking about him. His comparison was like an AJ Green, like AJ Green, but he could have been as good as that. If in Louisville, he was pretty good. He really good first round pick. He just can't stay healthy. So we have to see, we got Hunter Henry last year. He couldn't stay healthy with the Chargers, come to the Patriots. All of a sudden he was healthy all year. So sometimes maybe a change of scenery, that's all, that's all that's needed or whatnot. But I do think if he can stay healthy, it's going to pay off. And like I said, I think it's a low. We didn't give up much for him. It's a low risk, high reward. If it works out, great. If not, we still drafted Taquan Thor, and we got this year. And I'm glad we're talking about receivers right now. This year is different than other years. We're deeper at risk. We don't have that number one wide receiver guy. DeVante Parker, he's going to try to be our number one. We want him to be the number one. But we have a bunch of number 2s and 3s. Jacoby Meyer, he's a number 3 on a good team. Kendrick Bourne, he's number 2 on a good team. Nelson Aguilar, he's number 2 on a good team. Jacoby Meyer, he's a stud, but he don't get the recognition, but he's really good. He's really, really good. He's not an Edelman, Amendola, or Welker, but he's really good. He's going to get a big payday after this year. Somebody's going to pay him next year. So, he might re-sign with us. We have to see about that. Nelson Aguilar, he didn't have a big impact with us last year. That's why we got rid of Harry. That's why we drafted Thor, and then we got Parker, whatnot. But I think DeVante Parker, we don't need him to give us 1,000 yards. See, if he does, that's great. We don't need 100 catches from Parker because we're going to spread it around to everybody. Everybody's going to eat for us this year. And that's why I can't wait to see this new offense. Everybody's going to eat because teams going to have a hard time stopping all the options that we have this year. I think DeVante Parker, if he can give us something like what Hunter Henry gave us last year, a big red zone target, gives about 45 to 50 catches, maybe 500 to 700 yards. I think it's great. We don't need him to put up numbers. We don't need it. If he does it, that's great. But we don't need him to do that.
I mean, listen, the last time DeVante Parker played a full season of football was back in 2019. He played 16 games, started 14. He had 72 receptions, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. So he can be that 1,000-yard receiver for you if he's healthy, right? He hasn't.
If
I
he
mean,
stays healthy,
right. Last
it's a
season he only
big
played
if.
10 games. It is a big if because last season he only played 10 games. He had 515. The season before that, in 2020, he played 14 games, but still gave you about 800 yards. So he has been on and off as far as the injuries, but also, like you mentioned at the top of the show, he hasn't had that consistent presence at the quarterback position. That's also been an issue as well. But when he's healthy, and he's only 28 years old, he'll be turning 29 this season. So he's still on the right side of 30 when we're talking about
Right.
ages and longevity for wide receivers at the position. He's on the
And
right
he's
side of
missed
30.
he's missed a lot of time,
talented.
so yeah,
He
he's
is.
missed a lot of time, so he has some trick. He's still, he's a little fresh.
This wide receiver room could be one that maybe sneaks up on you, especially down the stretch of games when Mac Jones starts getting his footing into the new season and he starts really clicking and understanding everything that's going on. Obviously Josh McDaniels is gone, right? So you got the new OC. I actually don't have a new OC. Bill Belichick's calling the plays now. The last time, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, the last time we saw a team in the AFC East where the head coach called the plays offensively, I think it was Bill Parcells. It was a very long time ago.
It won't be Bill. It won't be Bill this year. It'll be Joe Judge. Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, they're split up. It won't Bill be an overseer. He's just going to take more part of the offense. Bill won't be calling the plays.
So that's what I was going to ask. What do you think? So do you think that the loss of Josh McDaniels is going to be noticeable as far as what the offense looks like now that he is, he's moved on to once again trying to be a head coach again now that he's in Las Vegas?
Well, I like McDaniels, but he seemed like the past couple of years he's too predictable, man. He's either going to call a sweep, a halfback draw, or so he's too predictable. So it was time for a new voice. It was time for a new voice. I think it's gonna be big for Mac this year, and I can't wait. I think the first month of the season we can go through some growing pains. I know we start out with in Miami, and I'm glad we started out there in Miami. Then we got Pittsburgh, and then we got Baltimore, I believe. No, yeah, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. So we got a tough schedule to start or whatnot. But I do think the loss of McDaniels, I think it's gonna hurt us in the beginning of the year because we're gonna still be getting our footing. But I think Bill Belichick always said football season doesn't start till Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, that's when the football season really starts. So I think it's gonna hurt us a little bit to start, and I think we're gonna struggle a little bit to start. But I think we'll pick up. Give us a few games. I think by week 4 or 5 we'll pick it up or whatnot. I do think, but I think I was one of those guys that I was just ready for a new voice, man. McDaniels so predictable, and I wanted to see something else. I think this year we're gonna put a lot more on Mac. McDaniels didn't do that last year. He was too kind of conservative, especially like it took to after that Cowboys game till we started opening up a little bit. So I think I'm glad he's going or whatnot. I think he's going to do okay with the Raiders, but I think it was just time, man. It was time. I want to see what Mac does with a lot of stuff on his back. I want to see how he reacts.
We talk about Mac Jones, right? Mac Jones, obviously, I think we both agree. I know we both agree as far as he'll take that next step and continue to improve in his second season. Another guy that I think might take another good step and improve it this season is Ramondre Stevenson. And Ramondre Stevenson came on a bit when Damian Harris was kind of in and out of lineup due to injury. Do you like what I mean? The fantasy football world is loving him. I'm loving him from a fantasy perspective, from a real life football perspective. How are you feeling about Ramondre Stevenson? What his production looks like this season? Are you confident that despite Josh McDaniels being back, he'll still get enough touches to still be, a productive and a vital part of this offense this season moving forward?
This will probably be how confident I am in Ramondre Stevenson. This will probably be Damian Harris last year with the Patriots. This probably his last year. And the Patriots don't pay nobody. We don't pay nobody. Yeah. So this will probably be his last year. Bearing something unforeseen, him going off this year, it's probably be Damian Harris last year. Ramondre Stevenson is a dog. When he touches the ball, he can hit his head on the goalpost anytime. And I think he would have been drafted a little higher. I think he had a couple off the field incidents and whatnot. But I think other than that, the guy's a dog. Every time he got the ball last year, we could have had 1,000 yards last year if we would have played him a lot more at the beginning of the year. Damian Harris is good. He's a good back. He's number one back.
Yeah.
But we got two ones, man. 1A, and we got two good running backs. If Harris, and then we drafted the guy Pierre Strong out of South Dakota State. We like him. Kevin Harris out of where did was it Florida State or South Carolina? I believe he came from South Carolina. We drafted him. Like, we got some depth. And James White's coming back. So Ramondre, these people don't talk about. He can catch the ball. He can run routes out the backfield. Yeah. The guy, he reminds me of Blunt with a little bit better pass catching ability. That's what he reminds me of. But I think he's gonna be good this year. And then guess what? This is the good news. He's young, and we got him on a rookie contract. we still got we got them for the next few years. We ain't got to pay them nothing. So I think the running back position and the safety position is our two strongest positions, and quarterback. But running backs and safety are our two deepest. We can afford an injury there.
No, that's true. I mean, you look at Ramondre Stevenson. Obviously, last season was his rookie season. He played 12 games, had 133 carries, 600 yards, found the end zone 5 times. He averaged about 5 yards a carry, almost 4.6. Which, if you're a rookie, that's really good. He was 17th in the league last season as far as yards per carry. And again, you mentioned receiving. He had 14 receptions on 18 targets for 123 yards. Didn't find a touchdown, but I'm sure you get more reps in that offense. He would have found the end zone a couple of times last season. He's really good. I love Ramondre Stevenson. Like he just 6 feet 230. Like he's got the nice build for a running back. He's young. He fights for every yard. He is you don't put him. They don't put them out there on every down, but he could be an every down back. He's a red zone threat. He's a regular down. Like he is just a really good back. And I think he works really well with Damian Harris. And once Damian Harris moves on, if this is Damian Harris's last season in New England, like you said, I mean, they've got themselves a really solid running back in Ramondre Stevenson that can carry.
Really solid, man. It's going to be some team is going to get a good back. Yeah, some team, they're going to, when we do our cuts later on next month in August, some team's going to get a pretty good running back from the Patriots. We got J.J. Taylor. He can't even get on the field because we got so much depth. They
do have a lot of depth at the running back position. I think that's always been something that the Patriots have kind of made sure that they have a lot of running backs on the depth chart at all times in cases, like especially that break the glass back for sure.
Hopefully we can stash a few of these guys on the practice squad because I don't want none of them to go.
That's fair. I mean, you want to be selfish as possible. So I mean, you're talking about this team. This is a team that ran roughshod over the AFC East for the better part of 20 years. Obviously, you've got all the banners behind you. Went to the Super Bowl. What is it? 7 times, won 5 of them under Tom Brady. So 2 seasons without Tom Brady. We're talking about now at least 1 season.
6 of them. 6 of them.
6 of them. You're right. I'm sorry. 6 of them. I apologize. My bad. He won 6 of them. And we're talking about a situation where you got Mac Jones, you win double-digit wins. You get double-digit wins, you make it to the playoffs. Clearly the second best team in the AFC East. They're not the best team in the AFC East anymore. How many wins are you giving your Patriots this season?
Man, listen, I'm a realist. I'm not one of these crazy fans that bias fan and get, oh yeah, we're going I ain't trying to I like the Cowboys. I ain't a Cowboy fan, but I got a lot of Cowboy friends and family. The Cowboys, we're gonna win the Super Bowl. Come on, man, every year. But I'm not one of those guys. But Patriots, we haven't been too long since we was in the Super. We just in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. So our history, we have recent history. We're still good. We're still relevant. We might not be the Tom Brady Patriots, but we are still we're not far. We're getting there. Last year, I said my expectation was I wanted us to win 10 games and just make it to the playoffs. I didn't care what happened in the playoffs. I just want us with a rookie quarterback and with all the new people that we brought in for free agency. I said just make it to the. If we win the division, that's fine, but just make it to the playoffs and just see what happens. But if this is just a tryout year for us, I don't care what happens. I just want us to make it to the playoffs. It was last year. And, okay, I know it was a successful season for me. This year, we won 10 games last year. I think we can win 11 games. I want us to win 11 games, make it to the playoffs, win a game, and then see where we go from there. So for this year, I got us winning 11 wins. I want us to win the division, but man, Buffalo, and I can't stand the Bills. I play with them on Madden. I do play with them on Madden. I'm close to Stephon Diggs. I like Stephon Diggs, but the Buffalo, man, them Bills fans or something. I guess because we've been beating up on them for the past 2 decades. They got to have something to talk about. It's now their time to shine. But Josh Allen's a freak. They are a deep team. I mean, them guys, they can ball over there. Miami, they're going to be pretty good this year. They're going to be better. I still don't believe in Tua. The Jets could be the Jets. I do think they'll be a little better. But I see we can win. I want us to – week 1, I'm ready for that game. We can really set the tone and punch Miami in the mouth. We beat them week 1. That's the game right now. I'm going to say, okay, now I see what we're going to be this year. That's the game I circle. I've been circling that game since the schedule come out because we always struggle in Miami, and I want that game bad. We have to win that game. It's going to let me know how we are as a team. But I'm going to go 11 wins. We're going to be in competition for the division like we were last year to about the final 2 weeks. I'm going to go 11 wins. And, Mac Jones, I think he's going to have a pretty good year. I'm going to say he had, 22 touchdowns last year. I'm going to go maybe 28 to 30 touchdowns this year, probably about 12 picks. 11 wins for us this year and hopefully a deep playoff run.
I mean, this is a much better AFC though than we're talking about last season. We were talking about the AFC West.
The peak, I think the ceiling. I'm gonna go. The ceiling is 11. The floor, I'm gonna say about 9 because we got a tough schedule. I mean, the most we can win out, say 11. The lowest 9. We won't lose. We won't win no more than that. We won't lose them with 9. There we go. Nine's the lowest we win.
So let's look at. Let's say you do get to those 11 wins. I mean, this is a tougher conference this season than it was last season, right? The AFC West is stacked. You know, what I mean, could put all 4 teams in. So we're talking about a situation now where if you're the Patriots, chances are you're probably, unless just all things go wrong for the Bills this season, which I know as a Patriots fan you are praying for, right? But unless all things go wrong this season for the Bills, the Buffalo Bills are likely going to win the division again this season. So if that's the case, right, you're talking about now we're looking at one of those I don't. What are the odds then at that point of a route into the playoffs for your Patriots as a wild card team? It's because it's tough because you got a division, the AFC West, that can put all 3 teams that can put all 4 teams in, right? You're talking about obviously you got 2 teams in the AFC North that are good when you got the Bengals and the Ravens. One of those teams are going to win the division. I think the other one could maybe sneak in, but the race for the playoffs is much tighter, right? We've seen the past couple of seasons, the Dolphins a couple of times have won 10 games and not made the playoffs. Could the Patriots be in that situation too, where they win double digits and be on the outside looking in?
This is where I rank the AFC. I did this a couple weeks ago. Buffalo's number 1, Kansas City. Since everybody's so hyped about Cincinnati, but was that a one-year wonder, or are they the real deal? Because now it's a lot of expectation on the Bengals. We're about to see what Cincinnati's about. Let's see what they do with expectation this year. What a lot of teams gonna be coming for. So I'm gonna go based off last year. I'm gonna go in the offseason moves. I'm gonna go Buffalo 1, Kansas City 2, Bengals 3, and then Russell Wilson's in Denver. I go to Chargers 4. I go Denver 5. I think the Raiders can be up in there too, but I think the Patriots are in that second tier with the Raiders, Patriots, Baltimore, Tennessee. Don't sleep on the Indianapolis Colts either. So I think the Patriots are in that second tier. I'm gonna be real. We're not a top 5 team. Not right now as we're speaking up. But we're right there. We are. We can be vying for the final 2 spots. That's if we have a 9-10 win season. But if we get to our ceiling, we can be a top 3 team. We can do it. We really, because I think my defense is going to gel. I'm very excited about my defense because we got rid of Hightower, no more Venora, no more Jamie, because we got rid of slower mode of the big linebackers of the old Patriots days. We're faster now. We got Jabril Peppers, Adrian Phillips, Anthony Jennings. Cameron Grown. He sat out all last year. We brought in Raekwon McMillan, Matt Wilson from Cleveland. We got more speed on our team this year. We got more speed and we're younger. And I cannot wait to see my defense flying around this year. I think we're gonna be pretty good. And keep an eye on. I think Josh Uche from Michigan, former 2nd-round pick. This is 3rd year. I think he's gonna flare. He's gonna have a pretty good year. And Ronnie Perkins also. If we can get 2 of those guys, 2 of the 4 guys, the newcomers we got come on to defense, we can get them to play good. We'll be all right.
I think the Patriots would be a good football team. I don't know if the Patriots will have enough. This is a conference that is dominated by offensive firepower and great defenses, right? You're talking about the Buffalo Bills. They had the best offense in football last year. They had the best defense in football last year, right? They're still going to keep that, I think, this season. You're talking about a team, the Los Angeles Chargers, offensive firepower. They bolstered their defense to the max. I don't know if you could have made any more improvements the way that the Los Angeles Chargers made improvements defensively, right? You still have the Cincinnati Bengals. You make a good point about whether or not the Bengals are one-hit wonders. I'm a big Joe Burrow guy. The one thing that we were concerned about was, were the Bengals going to be able to respond and address the one need that they had, was the offensive lineman. They put a whole money and draft picks into the offensive line. So I think the Bengals, do they go back to the Super Bowl? I'm going to say no, but are they still going to be in the mix when we're talking championship Sunday? Absolutely. I think they are. That's a good team you got to look out for, right? The Chiefs are the Chiefs, but the Chiefs, I do think, took a step back this season offensively and defensively, and that's a big issue. You lose Tyreek Hill. I know you bring in Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You're bringing Juju Smith-Schuster, but you lost Tyrann Mathieu. And Tyrann Mathieu's probably the best player on the team, not named Patrick Mahomes, right? Or Travis Kelce for that matter. So that's and that defense isn't that good. So that's a massive step back for the Chiefs. I don't know if the Chiefs win their division. The Broncos are the Broncos. I'm not really on the Broncos hype train because we got to see what they look like. There's a lot of turnover in the coaching staff. Obviously, you have a new head coach. You've got a new offensive coordinator. You got a new defensive coordinator. And of course, you just brought in Russell Wilson. All those things don't necessarily just equate to automatic success, right? I love what the Raiders are doing. The one issue I have with the Raiders is, what is Josh McDaniels going to do as a head coach? Last time Josh McDaniels left New England to go be a head coach, he struck out badly. So I don't know. They've got the talent offensively and defensively to the Raiders, but I don't know. I've been getting a lot of heat about what I've been saying about the Ravens the past couple weeks. I don't think the Ravens have a top 10 quarterback. shoot me, whatever. They don't have that many offensive weapons. They don't have that many. They got a great defense, but
Yeah, they do.
apparently the offensive weapons I don't think are going to be enough to match up against the other offensive weapons in the conference, right? You're talking about the Browns. If the Browns had Deshaun Watson for the entire season, we're talking about maybe the Browns are going to be one of the better teams in the NFL, not just in the conference. But it's looking like I think he should be suspended for a year. It's looking like they're looking at least 6. No Deshaun Watson for six games is going to put the Browns completely behind the 8 ball where they're going to have to just about run the table for the last 11 games of the season. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. So I'm not really looking at the Browns, the Steelers. As much as I love Mike Tomlin, I think, he's been spectacular. One of the greatest coaches we've ever seen ever. They don't really have a quarterback. And until we kind of figure out what the quarterback situation is going to be there, we can't really gauge just how successful or how threatening they'll be. You made a good point about the Colts. I'll look at the Colts and I'll say I think the Colts are a dark horse to make it to the Super Bowl if they make it to the playoffs because they got Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan is the epitome of consistency. But everybody else in that division's taking a step back and they're not good. So I say all that to say I'm going to say at best, just being realistic, having looked at the schedule, I give the Patriots 9 wins, which I still think is a successful season, given that this year's AFC is so much steeper and so much more competitive than last year's AFC, right? We saw Lamar Jackson go down with injuries. We saw a lot of these other good teams kind of cancel each other out, namely, the Chargers and the the Chargers and the Raiders kind of cancel each other out until the end there. The Broncos weren't good, but now the Broncos, so you know what I mean? Like this just wasn't that stacked of a conference last season as it is this season. High end, though, I agree with you. I think they could go maybe 11 and 12. My one concern is because I expect the Buffalo Bills to just be creme de la creme in the NFL this season. Are the Patriots going to be able to win enough games to get into the wild card is my question. Because I don't, like I said, unless all things goes wrong for Buffalo, I just can't see a scenario where the Buffalo Bills aren't winning the division with at least a 2 to 3 game cushion.
Well, if Buffalo stays healthy, they should. But we know injuries play a part in the game, and a lot of things can happen.
Sure.
And like last year, we didn't think Jacksonville was going to put a number on Buffalo like they did last year. Like on any given Sunday, I do think the Patriots. We're not far from Buffalo. I think we're going to split with the Bills this year. I think we probably split with Miami. I do think we get week 1. We get that win in week 1. But other than that, I mean, I think we'll have a successful season. If we win 10, 11 games, it's a successful season for me. For me, anyway.
Sure. I mean, when you've got a second-year quarterback, if you can, at least I've been joking about this throughout the course, but I mean it's true. Like if you see the Patriots logo on those CBS graphics for in the hunt for the AFC playoff picture come week 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 down the stretch, and you got a second-year quarterback going to battle with Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes and all these other great young quarterbacks in the conference, that's a win. Whether you've got 9 wins, 10 wins, 11 wins, whether you win the division or you win the whole thing. I don't think there's a lot of pressure though on the Patriots this season because they still got Mac Jones, and I know it's his second season, but he's still got a lot to learn. And they've added a lot of new pieces, as you mentioned, offensively and defensively, and they don't have the offense. Like there's a lot of things that the Patriots have that they got to kind of figure out, and that works in their favor. Not to mention they've got the young guy under center calling the shots offensively. And they're just not established yet in this new culture. I think they're still trying to get their feet wet and kind of get their footing as far as what this team really will look like under Mac Jones. They're still building. They're still building around Matt Jones offensively. They're still trying to build that defense up to be, as you mentioned, quick, young, and able to keep up with these other high-powered offenses they're going to have to go up against every Sunday in the AFC. So I think this season, in most situations, if you drop down in your win total, it's a disappointment. I think this season, the Patriots, as long as the Patriots win 9 games, it's a success, in my estimation. I'm not a fan. Right, and I know you're a fan, and you guys have high expectations for the Patriots because of all this success that you've seen over the last 2 decades, and rightfully so. But just from an outsider looking in as a football guy, 9 games with Mac Jones in this conference, as stacked as it is, I think that's massive. If you can steal a game against the Bills, and if you can win one of those other tough games against some of those other good teams in the conference, that's a really good season as long as Mac Jones is continuing to improve and stay efficient. Like I said, 68% passes, 68% completion, 3,800 yards last season, 22 touchdowns, 13 picks. You can improve on that touchdown number, kind of bring down those interceptions, stay that completions percentage right at the same way. You know you're going to throw for more yards because you've got more people to throw the ball to. It should work out. I think Mac Jones will be a 4,000-yard passer this season for sure.
Completely agree. Completely. You summed up what I was about to say there.
So I appreciate you for coming on the show, man. It was a pleasure. I've been on your show over there with East West. So I appreciate you for stopping by to come on my show. Please let everybody know where they can find you and all your content.
Yes, sir. My personal Twitter is Kendall Whitley. That's two Y's on the end. KendallWhitty on Twitter. Instagram Kendall_Whitley. And then you can come check out my team, East West Football Podcast. We got a website. We on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We put out weekly podcasts every week. We got one coming out this weekend too. We always have some big time special guests on, and training camp getting started this week. I know most veterans are getting started next week. A couple of our guys, our members from the team, they're going to be traveling to to some teams training camps out on the West Coast in California, whatnot. So we'll be busy there at East West Football, but hey, it's the best time of the year. And once again, I appreciate you for having me on, and I'm looking forward to get you back on our podcast soon.
I would love to. And listen, at the time of this recording, we're 50 days away from the beginning
of
the regular season.
I will be starting my own personal podcast soon. It's going to be called Kicking It with Ken. I will be I'll be streaming weekly. We'll be putting out podcasts, whatnot. I want to start it maybe around the first week of the season in September. Go to my IG bio and you can subscribe. Links in the bio.
So definitely head over to all those platforms. Make sure you subscribe and check out East West Football Podcast. You guys know where to find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at GTP Marcus on everything: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Go Talk with Marcus. So for Kendall Whitley of the East West Football Pod and soon to be the Keeping Up with Ken podcast, this is Marcus of Go Talk with Marcus signing off. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, you guys are the best.